Every club.
Every day.
The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Well, oh my goodness. The excitement right now as part of this podcast. Welcome to the Daily Newcastle podcast. We all can't wait to get talking. Do Newcastle have one step in the final? Dare I say it? Oh, I tell you what, I wasn't far away with that 4-0 either. I'm going to come to my guests first and then we're going to have a little bit more structure, but we haven't actually spoke before this one, so I just want to get some instant reaction. I want to talk to my podcasting pal. So my first guest is Michael. How you doing, Michael?
Oh, I'm actually really bad. It didn't go how I expected. No, I'm fantastic. You say we went a little bit off the fall. It's an absolutely fantastic performance. I'm in a great mood, and I cannot wait to talk about the game.
And my next guest, the legend, Sir, I'm starting to call him Sir. I'm getting him knighted. Sir Iain Michael. How are you feeling? Absolutely buzzing with that.
You can call me Sir Kev as long as you don't call me Grandad. That's all right.
That's my job.
I think I texted it with 20 minutes to go that I was forgetting to breathe sometimes because
you did.
But that was like two walls erected in front of the 18-yard box.
Honestly,
it just looked very secure. I'm absolutely deliriously happy. Honestly.
We got it spot on. I think, obviously, with a match review, I think we're just going to do part 1, first half, part 2, second half, because there was 2 very different styles of play, a little bit of a master plan in there. In part 3, we'll talk about how far we can go, because we're in a great run of form, and we'll also go through our number 1 player from each of us from tonight, and we cannot double pick. I'll go last this time, because I stole the first one last time. So, part 1, the first half, I thought we were absolutely brilliant. I heard on the radio driving home from work these pundits saying, well, you know what you're going to get from Newcastle away to a big team. They're going to catch you on the counter-attack. Absolutely not. What a whole load of rubbish. Unbelievable. Fold me in half, give me wheels, call me a bike. We were absolutely fantastic. We pressed, we harried, we won the ball off them high up the pitch, we took the game to them, we attacked, we had shots, we put crosses in the box, the keeper was grasping at straws sometimes, trying to control Jacob Murphy's sheer crossing ability, and we took an unbelievable lead in that first half. Iain, what were your thoughts on that first half? Style of play-wise, how impressed were you? And how impressed were you with the approach from Eddie Howe? He put Willock in instead of Longstaff, like we said.
I think it worked the way he wanted it to work because everyone to a man played to the top of their game. And, 20 minutes in, I'm thinking, we're better. We are better than these. And that's what we said. I was really encouraged. I don't know if you saw, I watched the Arsenal fans TV preview this afternoon. And they said that we had a much more potent attacking force and a much better midfield than they had, and they predicted a win for Newcastle.
We're going to win the league.
No, I mean I'm thinking, well, look, if that's what the Arsenal fans think, then we're not wrong to be thinking the same, and so it proved Isak unplayable, and to have one centre forward that's got both Saliba and Gabriel crapping themselves and second guessing themselves, and it's a fantastic thing to see, particularly when it's Anthony Gordon and Jacob Murphy that are snapping around picking up the pieces. I thought maybe it was a surprise. We weren't surprised that Eddie went for it. Picked Willock. That would have tipped him off before kickoff that he was going to try and push forward and go for it when he picked Willock, and we did. We had them on the back foot. I had a slight butterflies when they did their quick break. And Martinelli raced through and whacked it off the post, but that's the only time they showed any pace and got in behind us at all. The rest of the time, I'm thinking, well, sideways Rice can pass it side to side.
I've been saying that for ages. He wouldn't get now midfield. That £100 million, he wouldn't get now midfield. He just wouldn't.
I know.
I'm promising you. I'm not even getting carried away here. Anybody who knows me, anybody listening to this who has listened to my podcast previous to when I was on this one, Declan Rice is massively overrated. Michael, I've got to get you to come in. That first half, I mean, I'm a little bit speechless. I'm still so happy that we took the game to Arsenal away from home. We've had so many bad results there. We've never won a game without Bruno. Everything was there about, it's going to be tough for Newcastle. Get away. Absolutely took the game to them. What are your feelings on that first half, Michael?
It all fell into place, didn't it? But I do have to say, first 15 minutes, I thought we were absolutely fantastic. And I even said in the chat, I feel like this is Arsenal are starting to get a hold of the game, and they're starting to get a little bit too much control for my liking.
Hopeless.
And then we went up the other side of the pitch, scored. I mean, as mentioned yesterday, set piece, Arsenal, dreadful from them. And it proved just before, one of the scrappiest goals you'll ever see, but one of the best finishes at the same time. First time, top of the net, absolutely fantastic. And to be honest, did you expect anything other than Jacob Murphy assisting Alexander Isak?
The guy's on fire. You know, we did an England episode at the very start of this journey, and we said Jacob Murphy for England. If Thomas Tuchel was there tonight, he's a baller.
I think you'll find it was only Michael who said Thomas.
I was going to say.
The rest of us have pulled his leg for the last 6 months.
Hey, I've got to get something right sometime, all right? Otherwise, he's a boot me off. But no, we were absolutely brilliant to a man today. First half in particular. Picking a man of the match at the end of this episode is going to be really, really hard. But that first half, it might be the best we've played all season.
I agree. It's a great point. I think away from home as well. I think we've put on better performances in terms of the slick passing and the slick moves. Absolutely. But the occasion, semi-final, without Bruno, without Shaw, away at the Emirates, it's that moment of we have really, really stepped up in terms of the occasion and how the players responded to that occasion and stuck together. Look, we know Arsenal technically are a fantastic team, and I mean, I'm getting carried away, obviously, as I am going to, being a mega positive fan anyway. I'm going to be unbearable for some people tonight on this episode. But we are, like I say, Arsenal were a technically good team, and like you said, Michael, we did have a very small period in the first half where we started to get a bit of control, and I think I put back in my group, it's going to happen at the Emirates. It's Arsenal. I think the players will be prepared for when Arsenal get a foothold, at some point in the game. And I think we're prepared for it, which we're going to come into in the second half in terms of what the plan was there. But just absolutely brilliant that first half. Honestly, I can't pick a player where I'm thinking they could have done a bit more. Iain mentioned before, obviously, Martinelli going through and hitting the post. You got to ride your luck sometimes away from home in semi-finals. And you're right, that could have changed the game. But I mean, Dubravka made himself big. The last thing I want to ask you about in that first half is the partnership with Burn and Botman. It still personally doesn't look there, but I mean, the improvement from the first game, which is natural. Botman's had a long time out, but the improvement seemed to be there from the first game. They've been working their butt off in trading, I think. Iain, were you impressed with Botman and Burn tonight? In particular, the connection, the partnership, when one went to press, when one didn't go to press?
I just remember both of them making some fantastic interceptions. They headed everything clear. I don't know if they've got to work in tandem in the way that Shah and Burn work in tandem. There was only one centre forward for them to look after, and there was no pace for them to be left one-on-one, really. So was there any need for them to be covering each other? I don't think so. I think they were secure at the back. Arsenal just didn't get the ball under control enough to be playing any sort of through balls to us. Like I said, everything was going from side to side on the pitch.
Yeah, forced them wide a lot.
Pair of them, though, were absolute... they were just so dominant in the air. They headed everything clear. And they weren't even the two best defenders on the pitch, because I thought Lewis Hall and Tito Livramento were even a step forward from what they were doing. Absolutely wonderful in that first half.
Yeah. Spot on. Michael, your thoughts on Botman and Burn? Are you starting to believe a little bit more? Because I know we all had our slight concerns after Botman's rustiness, but how are you feeling about that partnership?
I feel if they were up against Gabriel Jesus, it would have probably been a different game. To start off, I was surprised at how it started, but that just tells me Arteta was expecting us to sit back, because Havertz is better against that kind of defensive lineup. With us pushing, Jesus would have been much better in their attacking line. He might have actually got behind us a couple of times. And that's where we do see Botman and Burn struggle a little bit. But at the same time, you can only play what's in front of you. That's what we've said so many times. That's what we said yesterday. And literally, I've actually got a stat here that Sven Botman, Tino Livramento both made 8 clearances. Botman and Byrne made more combined than the entire Arsenal team. And when you look at it, I don't think they were ever in any worry of, in open play, should I say, because corners, they were dangerous.
Yeah, we did look
but
dangerous.
in open play, I don't think there was a single moment where Botman and Byrne were really, really stretched, except from that Martinelli moment on the counter. But it was more down the left-hand side, I would say, than central. So, but brilliant partnership. Let's just see if when we're against Wolves and Bournemouth and they're going to try and hit us on the break, a little bit more pace. Obviously, Fabian Schär will be back as well. But let's just see if whatever combination of those three can handle that pace. And if they can, we've got an excellent chance of doing something special this year.
Whoa, we're getting there in part 3. Hold your horses. We're all getting excited.
Sorry, I'm a bit too eager.
What you want to say, Ian?
Michael is going to do your first advert for you, Kev, because I've got a tiny little emergency I need to deal with. And it'll be finished by the time he's read it.
No problem. Michael is that professional that he will be able to adapt to that. I do just want to add as well, giving a little bit extra time. You mentioned about the corners there as well, and they were very good off corners, but I felt again we clearly prepared so well. And we're going to come to that in the second half in terms of just how right we got it. So, Michael, as Ian just announced, you're now taking over that first sponsorship message from Zencastr. No pressure. I hope you're prepared.
I'm always prepared.
Beautiful. We'll get that one done and we'll be straight back for part 2.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. And Zencastr, well, it came out a clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
Brilliantly done, Michael. But for me, tonight, for that advert, I would have just said, if you want a software which is as good as Newcastle United away at the Emirates, pick Zencastr. That would have sold it. It would have been enough for anybody. The sales would have went through the roof. Right, part 2. Very different game in the second half, and I think it was part of one big master plan. Eddie Howe's master plan. He gets it right again. Can you believe some minority of idiots were potentially talking about getting that man gone? Unbelievable. The master plan came together. I think we came out in the second half and we did look to defend a little bit more, lure them onto us a little bit and get a little bit more space in behind, and by God did that work. The second goal comes in the second half. Anthony Gordon at the minute just looks like he's back to what he was. He had a tough start of the season. And even though he looks battered and bruised from that challenger from Spurs in our last game, our last victory, because we're just getting that many victories at the minute, it worked. And then after that, we went very defensive. Substitutes came early. I'm going to let you guys speak about that because we did make a lot of interesting subs, but hey, 2-0 away to Arsenal. I don't think we can say anybody got anything wrong tonight. Michael, I'll come to you first this time. And then we'll go through what your thoughts were on the second half. How happy were you with the subs? How happy were you with the way we came out and the way we changed game plan?
Yeah, I think one of the best things that top teams do is they adapt to the situation. And it was quite clear from the second half that we were happy with the 1-0, but we still wanted a little bit more. We still were, we hadn't sort of set up shop just yet. And, I think without Alexander Isak, obviously that second goal probably doesn't happen. He is the best striker in the world, and it's becoming ridiculous how good he is. But he came off quite early. And I even said myself at the time, those substitutions have come far too early for my liking. I do not like these whatsoever. And I do have a little stat that makes me sound like an idiot. So be prepared. But in the first 60 minutes of the game, Arsenal had an expected goals of 3. That's an expected goal every 20 minutes. After Eddie Howe made those subs, their expected goals was 0.1.
And I tell you what, I will add.
30 minutes.
That's an incredible stat, but I'll also add, because I thought you were going to pinch mine there.
No, I'd never do that.
Arsenal didn't have a shot on target in the second half.
Yeah.
That is
complete
insane.
Performance.
Insane. So they were shooting from whether they can have 27 shots. We can take a ball and go home with it if we want 70% of the ball. We'll take the 2-0 lead into the second leg. But absolutely spot on, Michael. It was just the timing of it. I thought it might be a bit early, but it was just amazing. Iain, what are your thoughts on them subs? The way we set up in the second half and the way we just absolutely done Arsenal again.
I thought, well, given that we're not playing on Saturday, I thought Isak came off a bit early. And I think was always a double sacrifice when Anthony Gordon then goes to play in the middle. Yeah. Although Harvey Barnes kept a little bit of a threat for another 10 or 15 minutes. When those guys came off and we were effectively lined up with a 5-5-0 formation,
Genius.
And there was still 20 minutes to go, I was a bit concerned that we're just inviting them on. But no shots on target because the double wall was absolutely wonderful. All five midfielders moving as one across the field and coming out and challenging. They didn't have any time to do anything other than knock it sideways to the next man to see if they could probe and find a gap. When they did knock a ball forward, there was a Lloyd Kelly or there was a Dan Burn or there was a Sven Botman just to head it clear. Tonali was picking up those and making sure that they didn't just go straight back to them as well. I like the way we did try to play out of that, won a few free kicks to ease the pressure a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it was masterful. But at 20 minutes out, I was wondering if we hadn't done everything a little bit too early. When Jesus came on as well, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Who's in
good player.
Who's in a bit of... They say, he scored 5 goals in his last 6. He scored 1 in his last 3. That was the stat I was looking at. But yeah, no shots on target in the second half. That just shows impenetrable. What a wonderful performance.
There's a couple of things that I'm going to pick up on. Michael has just said we have the best striker in the world. Amazing. Alexander Isak. I think it's very hard to argue with that at the minute in current form. And Ian's just... Eddie Howe's masterful. Might have been a little bit early to most people, but he's a genius. He saw it. And it worked. I think the main thing I took away from last night's game, if you listen to this in the morning, but from the Arsenal game away, where we beat them 2-0 in a semi-final of the Carabao Cup. That game, just in case you're not sure which one we're talking about, the thing I took away from it, which was really exciting, is we have more than one way of playing. We don't always have to be the high-intensity pressing team. We can be physical. We can mix it aerially. We can fix it, we can mix it on the floor. We can look after the ball a little bit better. And we can sit deep and we can catch you on the counter. And we can also, like Iain alluded to, we can sit 5-5-0 and just beat you without a striker because we can, because we want to show off, because we want to make Arteta cry a little bit more. So it's fantastic to see that we have a team and we have a manager, we have a coaching team. Everybody deserves massive credit. The players as well, by the way, because we've executed it just how and Tinder wanted this to go. We have more than one way of hurting teams and we have more than one way of playing. And I just love seeing that we can adapt to the situation. Michael mentioned it earlier. He's spot on. The best teams can adapt to situations. We knew Arsenal were going to come gunning for us and we knew we could still hurt them on the break. We got the second goal and it was massive. Honestly, just a huge performance. The last thing I want to touch on before we go into part 3, and we somehow pick one player each.
Good luck.
Is what was really interesting was Arsenal's set pieces. We briefly mentioned it before, and we did look very dangerous. We did have a couple of half chances where there was a couple of free headers. I thought, oh, goodness gracious me. So I guess the question I'm going to pose to you, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but are Arsenal just a glorified Stoke City? Is that what we are now? I've never played against an Arsenal team, or I've never watched my team play against an Arsenal team where I thought, God, just don't concede a corner and we'll be okay. It never looked like scoring. Like Michael came out of that great stat, 0.03 or 0.3 XG after we went 5-5-0. Iain never had a shot on target in the second half. Are we just a glorified Stoke? Or have we just made them look that way? Iain?
I think it's good that Arteta's not snubbing the opportunity of the set piece goal. They all count the same as one goal, don't they? Even if rather than doing a tippy-tappy 27 touches before somebody knocks it in on the line. However, I think they're over-relying on it. I was listening to stats beforehand.
Good point.
We're listening to stats beforehand where Arsenal were exceeding their 2 seasons ago, exceeding their XG by 25%. and scoring a lot of goals. The following year, when they did their changes, they tightened up in defence, but their XG was although it had dropped a little bit, and the percentage of goals they scored had dropped a little bit, they still scored the same number of goals. This year their number of goals they score is slightly below their XG, and that is a lot lower than it was. And that's because they're not relishing the opportunity to do anything in open play. I think they're using open play, and we saw it tonight. They're using their open play to gain ground and then to win a corner, or to go round and round the semicircle on the edge of the box to then hopefully get tripped or pushed and win a free kick. And they had a few like that. But, if you've got giants in defence, and Newcastle are one of the teams that are physically big enough to hold their own against Arsenal, then that shows how really difficult it is for them to score.
Yeah.
And I think, I think they are. I don't think they're as free-flowing and as enjoyable to watch as they used to be.
I agree.
And
Michael?
I think it's a mistake. It's a mistake.
Sorry, Ian. Michael?
All right.
Yeah, I think Arsenal are playing like they've still got Olivier Giroud up front. And if you look at
by the way, what a player he was.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic player. Used in the wrong system. In the Arsenal system now, he'd probably score 20 goals a season. But you look at Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz, brilliant player. I love Kai Havertz. I said in the Christmas special, I'd love to have him at Newcastle. But in no world should an Arsenal striker be in the top 5 for aerial duels in the Premier League, which Kai Havertz is. He's lost the 3rd highest amount in the Premier League. He loses a lot more than he wins. And if you want to play that way, from open play, relying on Kai Havertz to win headers, you're not going to get anywhere. And we saw it again today. Kai Havertz trying to win aerial duels against Sven Botman and Dan Burn. You might as well have just put Miggy Almiron up against Costel Pantilimon. Just hands there. Oh, I should have said Peter Crouch and not a dirty Mackham, but I do apologise, everyone. It's the tallest player I could think of. But point still stands.
What is interesting, both fantastic points again. I think Ian hit me on the head. I was really surprised that when Arsenal got the ball out wide, we were looking to kick it off a Newcastle player to get a corner rather than actually get the ball in the box or a pullback. I was like, there was a period Martinelli tried to kick it off Lewis Hall about 3 times to try and get a corner. It didn't work. And I was like, just beat him or put the ball in the... What are you doing? Anyway, I loved that he tried it because, again, smashed him.
Without Saka, they don't have a player who can go past the fullback.
Martinelli's
point. Not that player. Martinelli's fast enough, but I think Tino found him out early on in the game and he knew it wasn't worth trying. So you'd see that Martinelli going down the left, putting his foot on the ball and coming back and knocking it back.
Yeah.
Great point. Right, that's going to be the end of part 2. Nice place to leave it. Ian is going to do our next advert, and we're going to come back and try and pick one player each somehow.
The Global Sports Podcast Network is changing the face of football podcasting with dedicated daily content for every Premier League team, women's football, a dedicated Premier League wrap-up in 5 different languages. This is your one-stop shop for your daily football fix. Find the GSPN wherever you find your usual podcasts.
Brilliant stuff. Just like Newcastle United tonight again. I'm just going to keep saying that all the time. But before we do pick a player each, I do we're talking about Saka. I don't know if he's going to be back for the second leg. I don't know, in terms of injuries and all that stuff. But Arsenal still can be a bit dangerous. I said a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but also kind of half meaning it, that we are almost a glorified Stoke City these days when you're watching them play. Not quite that extent, but we're still a very good team. And as Eddie, I'm sure, will say, I haven't heard his interview, but I'm sure we'll say it's only half-time. We've still got a job to do at St James's. All of that stuff is true. But if they play like we did tonight at home with a crowd behind them, I mean, I'm not going to say it yet. I'm going to hold off.
Kevin.
Yes, Ian. How far can we go?
Saka will not be fit for the 5th of February. He's 2 months out. But he'd have to turn up with Harry Potter in tow if he was going to try and turn around a 2-goal deficit at St James's Park.
Brilliant. Well, I'm Oh, I don't want to. I'm still not going to say it. Ian almost convinced me. I'm not going to say it. We're going to pick one player each.
Right. You want mine first?
I'm going to go last. Yeah, so it's going to go Iain, Michael, then me. We cannot pick the same player. That's the only rule here. And again, just a brief justification on why you were so impressed with the player you picked for tonight.
I think you could choose 11 at least.
Yeah.
But I am going to pick Lewis Hall. I thought Lewis Hall is an outlet. He works so well down the left with Anthony Gordon, with Joe Linton, with Joe Willock tonight. The whole of that left has got some sort of, and with Dan Burn as well, of course, they've got some sort of telepathic psychic connection. But what I've seen occasionally, but I saw 5 or 6 times tonight, he's in a position with the ball at his feet, surrounded by 2 or 3 Arsenal players, nowhere to go, but his footwork is so fantastic, and he's a 20-year-old left back.
Yeah, he's a good technical player.
Look, he can bring it. Yeah. He could bring the ball away past Arsenal players, Arsenal midfielders, and he did that so many times. I think there was one where he was about to get caught on it, and he fell over and put it out for a throw in anyway, which was fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think that the boy does keep getting better every game he plays, and where is his ceiling? I mean, he's only been playing 6 months.
Yeah.
Where does he end? Exciting stuff.
I think as well that moment when he fell over and put it out for a throw, and it's the first time I've seen him have the bravery to get up and have a go at some of his teammates. So far he's been quite quiet and a little bit. I'm a new kid here, and it looks like he now feels like he belongs, which I think for him can only be a good thing because he's willing to have that little pop in his players. Come on, give me an option. I'm not just going to lump it long. Brilliant choice, Ian. Michael, who's your one player from tonight?
So there are 2 that stood out for me, but I am just going to pick one. Don't worry. And I am going to go with Sandro Tonali. I wanted to go Sven Botman, I will say, but Sandro Tonali, we hadn't won a game in the entire time that Bruno had been here when he hadn't played. Stat Ian gave us yesterday, and today we didn't look like losing. And there is one player who just consistently was a levels above anyone else, maybe except Alexander Isak on that pitch in regards to quality. There was a moment in the second half where one of the small moments we had the ball, and you think, oh, just get it back to the defence, let's play it out a little bit, and let's just try and hold on to the ball. And we break. It's a massive kerfuffle on the left-hand side. Comes out, Tonali just one first touch, volley over. It's nearly a perfect pass to set. I can't remember if it's Barnes or Gordon through. It just gets intercepted. And I'm picking out a moment where he's gave the ball away, I know, but it's just oozes quality.
That moment stuck out to me because I thought, what vision to see that pass over the top of the defender to the left. So yeah, I know exactly what moment you mean. Brilliant.
And it's one of those as well as I think most people maybe didn't realise he was captain tonight. He has played, less than 20, maybe 25 games for us, and he already stood out as the captain in that team. And to be fair, I don't know if his leadership was great. I wasn't really watching. But to lead a team, to be fair, that didn't really need lead all that much, but to a 2-0 win at the Emirates and be arguably the man of the match, I don't think there's any centre midfielder that's going to be better than Sandro Tonali in the next 5-10 years. Wow. Bellingham maybe, but Sandro is going to be up there.
I thought was Burn not captain tonight?
Not according to what I've got in front of me.
Fair play. Ian, what are you going to add to the Tonali talk?
I love Sandro Tonali, but it just occurred to me, this was a stat I heard, which I was delighted to hear. Who was the last English team to beat Arsenal before tonight?
Toon.
Newcastle?
It was Newcastle. But the only team that can beat Arsenal. Come on. We're going to beat Liverpool in the final.
Excuse me. We love the tears of Mikel Arteta that much.
We do.
To be fair, I've just checked BBC there, and BBC does have Burn down as the captain.
I thought Burn walked out first, yeah.
I was going to say, with the statistics site I've got in front of me as Tonali, and so that's up there, so that's wrong. But either way, Sandro Tonali was levels above everyone tonight, and to be fair, Dan Burn as captain was pretty brilliant as well.
Yeah.
Can I make a before you pick yours, Kev? Because I know you're not going to pick this player, but just at the end of the game, I'm going to pick out Gabriel Martinelli, a player I've had no time for whatsoever in the past, but somebody who I watched go all of the way around the Newcastle team and shake hands with them and genuinely congratulate them on winning that game.
He wants to move.
Go up and talk to 6 or 7 of the Newcastle players and congratulate them, because that's what you do if you're a proper sportsman footballer. You accept and congratulate the opposition when they have performed really well and beaten you. And that's what he did. So, yeah, Martinelli went up in my estimation.
Great observation, Ian. To be fair, I didn't get to watch it. I flew straight down, set up for obviously recording this. But yeah, great observation. You know what? That makes me like him a little bit. And if he wants to come to Batude and play on the right wing for a little bit, feel free.
He wouldn't get a game. Not in front of Jacob Murphy.
Wouldn't get in.
Cristiano Murfaldo. My player for tonight, I was going to go Tonali. I was so impressed with Tonali. He did it without Bruno there. We were talking in the last pod how influential Bruno's been and how good he's been since moving into the 8. Just looks like Tonali's just instant class. So my next player, if I didn't get to pick Tonali, is Alex Isak. I know we kind of expected from him now. He's in a great run of form. He can't stop scoring. But the reason I'm picking Isak, before this hot run of form, I didn't think he ran the channels that well. I didn't think he dropped deep brilliantly. He was always a very good finisher, and he was lightning quick, and he wasn't always in the box when the ball fizzed across the box. You think, oh, that's where Wilson would be. Now I'm watching him and I'm seeing him drop deep. I'm seeing him take a turn on the ball. I'm seeing him run the channels. I'm seeing him getting out wide and beating players. He's holding the ball up. He's linking the play much better. He's trying. He's not quite there yet. I mean, it's amazing that there's still room for improvement when you watch Isak in a minute. He's still not quite in that poacher's tap-in position, but he's starting to make the runs a lot more. Now, I've been watching him really closely, and I thought tonight was one of his most complete performances. Again, big occasion, big stadium, big first leg away from home, lone striker against arguably what some people call the 2 best centre-halves partnership in the league, and Isak was just dropping deep at the right time, running behind it. Absolutely brilliant. So I've got to pick Isak, and it's not because of his goal-scoring form. It's not because he's banging the goals in. It's his overall play and how much that has improved since apparently after the Brentford loss, Eddie Howe had you don't know how true any of this stuff is, but he had a one-to-one kind of with the main players saying where they need to improve. I'm not giving all the credit to Howe because Isak has just turned into an absolute monster at the minute. He looks almost unplayable at times. We just need to keep him fit.
It was Isak that set Joe Linton up for the first shot of the game.
Yep. Again, moving out wide, much better than he ever used to. He's doing that so much better now. He's genuinely improved his game, and I think that's why I'm picking him tonight. It was just a complete away striker performance, linking the play. Really impressed.
I don't think either Saliba or Gabriel will be sleeping very soundly tonight. They will be having a nightmare or two.
Isak has to take him out of his pockets first. If he lets him
Keys, phone, Saliba, Gabriel.
Isak, he's got like an IKEA gift card. He's got his keys to his Lamborghini. He's got his dog collars for all the teams he scored against. And then he just finds Saliba and Gabriel. Oh, there you go, lads. I'll let you have your time back. It was brilliant. And let us know in the comments which players impressed you guys listening.
I was just going to add just one thing there just before we go. I do have to say, we spoke about a player of a match, but I think it's important to note just how well Eddie Howe handled Miguel Arteta today. Because with the 3 substitutions, obviously we mentioned it in the second part, but I put in the chat and I was like, there's not a single manager in the world that brings on Sean Longstaff, Lloyd Kelly, and Harvey Barnes for Joe Willock, Jacob Murphy, and Alexander Isak. But Eddie Howe does. And I even said at the time, maybe that's what makes him so good as a manager, because he's seeing things that we can't possibly see. Because I thought it was mental, and it turned out to be absolutely brilliant. So, fair play, credit to you, Eddie Howe, and we'll hopefully see you in the final. And we'll hopefully see you lift a trophy.
I know Ian said this before, so I'm going to pinch it off Ian before he jumps in. He has said that Eddie Howe will become an elite coach. And I mean, everybody knows my feelings towards Eddie Howe and how brilliant he is. And I've openly said, look, he's a young coach still. He will make mistakes, but everyone knows my feelings on Eddie Howe. He is the best manager we can have right now. So I'm going to let Ian have a final word before I give a tiny bit of information about the final, because we might be going there. I'm not going to say it yet, but I'll go to Ian first before I share the information.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I've said for a long time I think Eddie Howe is an elite coach.
You have.
And I'm still hoping that my first 3 places in the Premier League bets will pay out on Newcastle. In fact, if we can beat Arsenal 2-0 in the league game, why are we not chasing second and waiting for Liverpool to drop off?
God.
That wasn't what I was going to say. What I thought needed to be noted, which was when the guys were at the end of the game waving to the crowd and taking the applause, there's a close-up on Martin Dubravka, who was in tears, and I think that means that was probably his last
game
game for Newcastle before he goes off to Saudi Arabia. And if that's the case, his concentration levels tonight were incredible. One block he made in the first half from Gabriel from about 4 yards.
Michael-esque. Yeah.
Fantastic. And he never missed a cross. He never flapped much. I think he performed really, really well. If that's the game we remember him by, then it's a fitting testament.
Yeah, he's changed my opinion. I think I'm not going to sit here and say I've always thought he's a brilliant goalkeeper. There was a period last season when he came into a team and I thought, oh no, maybe age has caught up with him, but he's proven me wrong. And I think there was a couple of other fans who maybe felt the same way. He's proven them wrong. He's come into a team and been absolutely brilliant. And again, not just shot stopping or coming for crosses with his feet. He's been a massive, massive help. So if it is his last game, what a way to bow out. Hopefully he's allowed a bit of time off to come and watch the final, potentially, if we get there. The final is on the 16th of March, which is a day before my birthday. Imagine.
Happy birthday.
That birthday weekend. But that's all I'm going to say about that because we're not quite there yet. We've still got the second leg in a month's time. I think most of us from the pod will probably be at that game. So we might try and get some sort of live video posted when we're reacting to it. Hopefully it's a happy one. Thank you very much to Iain, Michael, and everybody listening. It has been an absolute privilege doing this episode. Mikael, Teta, your tears just taste so good.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.